Welcome to episode 131, 3 Tools for International Aviation Marketing.
All the way up to 131, huh?
Yep. And are these different tools than we do for regular aviation marketing? No, but these are specially suited.
Crafted?
Well, yeah, exactly. These are ones that work really, really well for international, people who want to sell internationally. And we will talk about why and how, right?
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, why? Why would you want to sell internationally? For a lot of folks, that's kind of a pain in the neck, right?
Even for us.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been able to make it work.
Right, exactly. So there are some parts of the industry that actually can benefit quite a bit from larger markets and from competition, and just the way that the economy is working right now is really popular to have flight training in the United States for people from certain other countries where it actually is more expensive because they just don't have the general aviation resources and infrastructure and everything else, right?
Well, they like the flight instruction over here that's to FAA standards.
Right, exactly. So if you are a flight school looking to attract international students, this is a great episode to be listening to, right?
Yes.
Okay. Older business jets. In a lot of cases, it's much easier to sell them in places like Latin America and Africa, Asia, places where they don't have the same number of business jets out there, so you're not competing with a million other ones like you are in the United States, right? Okay.
And although it may be reasonably priced here, over there it's still pricey because of the currency exchange rates.
Exactly. And for planes that aren't planning on flying in the United States, they don't have to ADSB certified if they are never going to be flying back to the United States.
Right.
So that's an opportunity for some of the older jets that the owner doesn't want to invest in that and doesn't want to make plans for that. There may still be a way to find an opportunity there. Parts and components. Especially very specialized parts and components. You want to sell to every one of those make and model of airplanes, no matter where it is,
Exactly.
Whether it's in the U.S. or elsewhere. Software and services, also very popular. U.S. software and U.S. services are very popular for aviation companies elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So,
yes, they are.
If you sell one of those 4 things, or some variation thereof, you probably really want to consider selling internationally, right?
Yep.
All right. Now, you may have tried in the past selling internationally and thought, this is just too hard, too complicated, too much of a nightmare, right? But it is far easier than it was even a year ago because of technology and because of there's a lot of other people doing business overseas. So a lot of things have changed that make this a lot easier, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the 3 things we're going to be talking about today are marketing things. There's other things that you need to do, like being able to accept behind the scenes. Like we use PayPal merchant account. That does kind of a transparent currency exchange. If somebody wants to pay us in whatever currency they want to pay us in, that's fine. We don't have to worry about that. Our bank translates it automatically into dollars and life goes on, right?
Yep. Even the major credit cards will work that way.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of those things are easier than they were a few years ago. There are some countries, probably the worst situation I can think of is when we had someone from Egypt that we wanted to do business with, and this was right before there was a coup in Egypt, and their currency became invalid internationally. And
they'd been with us for a few months before that happened, and all of a sudden
we couldn't accept their currency, and so we had to make other arrangements. So weird things happen with international transactions. You may want to include some kind of a surcharge for international shipping. Obviously, you want to take into account currency exchange. You may want to make sure you're covered that way, so that you're not getting hit on that and some other things. But today that's all business stuff. That's all John's purview. Today we're talking about marketing, which is my purview. So 3 things that you want to do when you're marketing international, right? Okay. So
at least 3.
Right. So foreign language pages on your website, search engine optimization, and social media and advertising are the 3 things we're going to talk about today. So first of all, you want to find out, do I have an overseas market?
Pretty much I can say yes. But you have to look into it.
Exactly. Depending on your product or service, you may be surprised and you may find that there is a country in which your product or service is really, really popular that you didn't even know about.
Right, but you have to discern which country it is rather than marketing to the world.
Exactly. So this is actually a geo map from Google Analytics for one of our clients that markets internationally. And you can see in dark blue, those are the places where people are visiting their website the most. So most of the traffic to their website is from the United States. The second most is from India. You can see that's in a slightly darker shade of blue there.
And whatever down the Philippines or Indonesia, somewhere down there too as well.
Exactly. So it gets a little bit harder to see. But the point is, there is a way to do this using a free tool, and that's Google Analytics. We talk about it a lot. Make sure that you have cookies on your website, the appropriate codes and things so that Google Analytics is registering everything that it can track, because that is gold from a marketing perspective. Right. So these guys have years and years of data, and that's what we're looking at here. Actually, it's 1 year of data, so we have a pretty statistically significant view of who all is looking at this website.
Yep.
Right? Okay, so let's dive in a little bit deeper. They have a list of countries on their website. These are the countries. So the United States is first. India is second.
See, I was right. Philippines.
Yep, Philippines is third. So, a couple of things to notice here. You want to see, number one, the total volume of people who are coming to this website, but you also want to look for how many pages are they visiting and how much time are they spending. So in this case, they're only spending 46 seconds. So, that indicates to me, since these are people who are really interested but are maybe not understanding what's on the site. So, this may be an opportunity where you would want to have some foreign language pages for that particular market. The Philippines, you were right. That's number 3. And again, they've got a lot of people visiting this site from the Philippines. And once again, they're only spending 37 seconds. So we could consider a quality visit on your website about a minute or more.
It's like South Africa's 50 seconds.
Right. So, and that's kind of what you would expect. The people that have a high percentage of English speakers are spending more time on the website. Countries that have a lower percentage of English speakers are spending less time on the website. So it's one of many things to look at. But certainly does give you an idea. If you've got 6,000 people a year looking at your website from a particular country and you're not selling there, you might want to consider the possibility, what would I need to do to make my product more attractive in that market? Right? Okay. Cool. So, questions you should ask yourself. 1, do I want more customers from that country? Obviously, if it's Egypt and we're not accepting their currency, which is not the case now, but
No.
If it's a country that we have sanctions against, if it's a country that maybe there's a reason that you don't want to do business there, and there can be any number of reasons.
And your local bank can tell you.
Absolutely, if there's a problem with any of that. Or if whatever your staff and your affinities, if you've got somebody that works with you from a particular country, you can talk to them about whether or not that would be a good opportunity and so on. So what will I need to provide in order to make that work? And some of those things might be translated web pages. You might think, well, everybody in aviation speaks English, but not all of their parents, teachers, spouses, and other interested parties do.
Yeah, and even overseas, some of the mechanics don't, but the people in charge do.
Right. So pilots may speak English, the CEOs maybe don't, depending on where we're talking about. So translated web pages might be a necessity. You might need to hire a salesperson that speaks the language. Somebody calls you and you can't understand them. That is not the best situation. Usually if they know they're calling the U.S., they'll do their best. But if you've got somebody that speaks that language, that certainly makes them feel more comfortable. Can you accept and convert their currency? Is their currency in the tank right now? So it's not worth it to you, to accept that currency. Are you willing or able to attend events in that country? You might want to look at the trade show schedule and see if there are aviation events in that country that you might want to go learn. In the first one, go sell in the second one, right? Okay. Hire a salesperson in country, somebody that lives there and works there that can help you with your sales process and other services as needed. So to start with, let's talk about translated foreign language pages. There are 3 ways of doing this. One is to just simply put a page or a set of pages, and this is if you only need 1 or 2 pages, just go mydomain.com/Spanish if you wanted to do a Spanish language page. And that would be kind of a one-size-fits-all. Here's the basics of doing business with us, translated into Spanish, and have that all in one page. Mm-hmm. So if you're just testing the waters, just want to dip a toe in, this might be a good strategy to get started. If you want to take it a step further, you can say spanish.domain.com, which is what we call a subdomain, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, which is
kind of geeky for people that don't care.
Right, exactly. But what that means is that you have several pages on your site that are in Spanish, and it's neatly organized so that your English speakers aren't going to wander into them and wonder what the heck happened. But it's just in a nice little section of your website. You still only have one website to manage. It's all tracked together, all on your Google Analytics. It's fairly easy to manage and everything else, so it's just one website, but it has a subsection or a subdomain that's in Spanish. If you really want to go crazy, or if you really want to commit to this market, you can get what they call a TLD, or a top-level domain for that country. Several countries have their own domain, like Canada is CA, Mexico's MX, there's lots of other ones where you can get a website specifically for that domain. Now, some of these, especially in China, there's a lot of scams going on where people will sell you your domain Singapore, China, a lot of the Asian countries. I've gotten a lot of spam about this lately.
Yeah,
and they
want to sell it to you.
They want to sell you your domain with those Asian TLDs for thousands of dollars. Number one, that's not our market right now, or at least we don't have a huge market there. And number two, thousands of dollars is kind of inappropriate when you can get them in places where you have a lot more people for a lot less money. So beware of scams, but it may be appropriate for you to get a TLD for the country that you're targeting, right?
And you can probably buy it in the U.S. for $8 a year.
Right. So those are 3 ways of organizing your web pages, depending on whether you want to dip a toe in, if you want to, get a little bit more involved, or if you want to dive in entirely and recreate your entire site for a particular target market, right?
And there are software solutions to translating the entire website.
Right. If you are really committing to a market, you do want to have someone read that over, because the machine translations are not always perfect.
That's correct.
And
they're getting better.
They are getting better, but you can start with the machine translations and then have someone edit. That's still a lot less expensive than having someone start from scratch.
Right.
Right. Okay. Another thing that you're going to want to do is search engine optimization in that language. Just because you have a foreign language page doesn't mean it's going to be indexed, right? So you're going to want to do some specialized search engine optimization, multilingual SEO meta tags, which is a fancy word for the code on your page that you don't see. You want to make sure that that's in line as well, and you want to make sure that you've got the translated pages optimized so that those
and if
work
you're serious about this, give us a call and we can guide you through it.
Absolutely. Just wanted to give you an idea of what we're in for here today. We're not going to solve the whole problem. So search engine optimization, very important for those foreign language pages, especially if you're competing with folks that are in country using those TLDs when you only have a subdomain.
Right.
It's not easy to do, but there are some things that you need to do to make sure those get indexed on the foreign search engines. They don't all use Google like we do. Right? Okay. Social media and advertising. Now, this is a really neat thing because you can target people who are in that country traveling to the United States, in the United States traveling to that country. There's a lot of options here, especially with Facebook. It's probably the one that's the most granular as far as geography goes. Most of the social media do allow us to do what they call geographic segmentation, but Facebook is the most specific, where we can actually go to a particular state in a particular country, or a particular city in a particular country, or a particular geographic point, and do a radius of a certain amount of distance, right?
Or region or section.
Right, exactly.
Depending on the company.
Yeah.
Country.
And then you can also select people within that region or that state or that country who have specific attributes. So, people who have a certain income, that live in this certain area, that have liked the Cirrus page, as an example. That would be a very small group of people, but those might be the exact group of people that you want to market to.
Could be.
Exactly. So talk to us about that. Also talk to us about retargeting for specific countries, because once again, we can retarget people from a particular country who visit your website, but we know that they're in a particular geographic location.
Yep.
Okay? So technology is a scary and wonderful thing, right?
Yep.
Okay. It knows where we are, and it knows when we've been sleeping, and it knows when we're awake. Mm-hmm. And it knows what country you're from and everything else. So once again, it's much easier than it was a year ago. We talked about some of the options for organizing your website with those foreign language pages or within a complete foreign language site. We talked about search engine optimization and those meta tags, things you need to do to make sure that you get picked up by those search engines. Otherwise, you have a site that nobody will ever see in a foreign language that you paid a lot of money for, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That would be tragic. And the last thing we talked about was social media and advertising options. We have done in the past some postal mail advertising, and in some places it works better than others, but we didn't cover that in today's episode because we've had some really bad results, especially in Asia, with postal mail. So if you have an interest in doing that, let's talk.
Yeah,
right?
we can talk about it and provide ways to get around some of those issues.
Exactly. Some countries are fantastic with postal mail, and some are just not. So.
They're not, right.
So just click the Let's Talk button in the lower left-hand corner of our website and set up 30 minutes to talk with us about your foreign aspirations or your international aviation marketing aspirations, and we'd be happy to see what you've got, see what's working for you, see ways that maybe it could be improved, and take it from there. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.